Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror films of all time and talk about them. Today, we have another very special bonus episode for you. We're talking about one of the films which screened at FrightFest Glasgow this month. My name is Andy Conduit-Turner, and I'm joined by a very special guest today, Jonas Trukanas, the writer-director from Lithuania, at the helm of his debut feature film, Pensive. Jonas, very nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm great.
Fresh off the back of FrightFest. This was the UK debut of Pensive?
Yeah. That was the UK premiere. We did before we did the Black Nights Festival, which is a huge festival, and then we did Torino Film Festival, and then we had the theatrical release in Lithuania, and FrightFest was where we presented for the UK audience.
Yeah, and it's such a nice privilege for us to get. I mean, you may be surprised to learn this, but we do not get too many Lithuanian films over here. So it's so nice. I think FrightFest and lots of other festivals do a great job of giving us a lineup that we don't just see British, American, Canadian films. I think the last two FrightFest, certainly. I think my film of the festival has been a European movie. France have been doing very well out of me recently, so it's nice to see a Lithuanian movie as well.
Yeah. No, I have to say that I've been using FrightFest for a while FrightFest programs for a while to get my watch list. So I would just check the program of the FrightFest and see what I have to see this year.
Yeah,
from the horror films. So it's lovely to be in the program there as well.
Yeah, they've got a lot to answer for how long my watch list is. Even covering it for a podcast, we can't possibly watch all of them. So I come away with as many new films to still watch as I have managed to watch on the schedule.
No, it's interesting. I've been talking to someone like how you guys have to watch, all of the films throughout the coverage, do reviews, do I don't really, and then some people are doing a few festivals simultaneously. So that's your job is hard as well.
I definitely think you guys have the hard work actually making all these things. We just get to sit and watch them, but we do a little bit of scheduling when we have a big festival like the main Fright Fest last year. There was just too much for us to watch. We had to split it between us and say, right, this is my list, this is your list, and we'll watch them all between us. I tell you what, though, before we get into Pensive itself, let's learn a little bit more about yourself. Before we get into your career as a filmmaker, obviously, I imagine you were a horror genre fan to begin with. What was your horror history? Where did it begin for you?
It's interesting because I think for us in Lithuania, it was a little bit different than to you guys in UK because we didn't, like when I was growing up in the 90s, we didn't have the access to the horror films. Like it was not on, TV. It was more that you had to go and get like a pirated videotape from somewhere to watch watch a horror film. And it was all because the internet was like not really a thing. You couldn't read about the horror films altogether. So it was more word of mouth. Like someone like a classmate will tell you, "Oh, I saw this film. It has a girl that pukes and spins its head, and it's the crawls around the room, and you're like, oh, what's that about?" So I think this is how it started. And for me, from this like sort of a little bit like sinister interest almost, that they weren't like forbidden films, but it was hard to get. But so I think this is how it started, and then obviously we had like the books as well. Books were much more accessible. Like Stephen King was there, so I started reading that. And slowly I got dragged into it, and I think for me, especially like as a teenager as well, it was like a mean of testing the limits, so to say, of watching these extreme films that I could hold my own and say, oh, I've seen this forbidden film about cannibals in Brazil. Yeah, and afterwards I studied in the United Kingdom actually, which obviously while coming there, the genre cinema in general was much more spread, so to say, and so I really then I think in UK I started to look at it not only as a not only as something I enjoy watching, but also something I really want to create and want to understand the history of it. So yeah, that was the thing, and this is how it started for me. And obviously, then after that, I did horror shorts as well, screened in festivals around the world, and yeah, Pensive was the natural next step for me.
Wow, and great. I love to see it. Like one of the things I enjoy most about doing this, the pathway that you followed, starting with these short films, passionate projects for you. I'm sure. I know that. Well, we'll talk about some of the inspirations behind those in a little while, but and then seeing people move on to launching their first feature length and seeing it in festivals, it's great to see. I always come away from these things where we've discussed with directors, writers, and everything
No,
with
but
much
it's a
appreciation for film.
huge. I think it's a huge. Like you always, even when you study, like everyone obviously dreams about the first feature. This is even like 10 years ago when I was in university. That was where you want to be. You want to make that feature film, and it's incredible to get the validation afterwards. It's really incredible. Like
Yeah.
it's the dream, a lifetime dream come true.
It must be wonderful, especially as like a film fan, seeing something you've created be in cinemas, right? Like people are watching it up on a big screen and they're coming out of a screening and talking about it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's almost sometimes you get even detached, I think, from the experience because you can't really believe it. Like this is my film there, and also as I said, because it's like it was a dream, so to say, to make it. Because we all know that making film is not easy. Like you don't get a lot of chance
Yeah.
as well.
Well, I know directing is where you are working, but I know that you Pensive certainly you co-wrote as well, right? So
Yeah.
you're on the writing side, and obviously you wrote your shorts in the past as well. How are you finding the transition from writing to moving into the direction? Is it like a natural progression? Do you think you'll take your hands off the writing and be directing other things in the future, or do you think will you stay on the writing side too?
No, I always write with someone, and this one I wrote with Titas Lotus, who's actually directed himself. He just released his feature film that he directed himself as well. It's hitting the festivals. It's doing great in Lithuanian theaters, and I think for me, like again, I can't really write alone. I need to write with someone, but I always want to be involved in the writing, because I don't know. It's just the I think again for us here in this side of Europe, like it doesn't really work like that. That you get a script from someone. You have to make it your own, and obviously, this is why we make films, I guess, to tell the story that we want to tell. So yeah, the transition. I think this is what I always want to do. I always want to co-write with someone because alone, when I'm writing alone, I just get lost quite easily. It's great to have someone to bounce thoughts off, and with Titas, especially with the co-writer, we have quite a system in place how we pick each other up, and it's good not to be alone.
Yeah, it can certainly help drive a project to being finished, right? And I think you're right. You can get so much into your own head, like the way that you would like something to be. Having someone else as that first sense check is a huge advantage, and it shows in what's coming out. So before we go into speaking about Pensive itself, let me read out a little openers for us here. So Pensive is a Lithuanian slasher horror movie, first released in 2022. And here's our tagline: Beware of what you do to others. When the venue where a graduating class is set to celebrate cancels at the last minute, Marius, an outcast and loner, comes to the rescue by finding a new location for their party, a countryside house, which his mother, a real estate agent, has had little luck in selling. So the party is back on, and perhaps Marius will finally get some recognition and attention from his classmates. A wonderful classic slasher movie setup, and then very quickly going into a wonderful slasher location, like an abandoned or very quiet property in a wooded area. Where did you film this? Were you filming in Lithuania itself, or were you
Yeah,
elsewhere?
yeah. We again, this is why some people from I guess other countries might think that it's very the cabin is somehow the cabin where the action takes place is somehow very unique. But for us, it's sort of what we know. Like this is where we would go to sort of celebrate the graduation,
Mhm.
like the old cabin in the woods. And the cabin itself, so there is an interesting story, because we were operating on quite a modest budget. And we had to find a place where to shoot it, but we obviously had to crash it like completely. So the cabin actually belongs to one of the film's producers.
Really?
It's yeah, yeah. It's not like he bought a piece of land and the cabin was just there. He didn't do anything with it, so it was just sort of abandoned for like 5 years or something like that. And we thought, yeah, let's do it because he didn't need it, and it was perfect for us as well. It wasn't a quite a secluded look. I mean, Lithuania is not a big country, but we still managed to find a place where it's quite secluded,
Mhm.
from the rest of like bigger cities. So it was also great in terms of mood because we were sort of in the middle of nowhere, and it helped I think translate the mood of the film to the crew and the cast because you can't really, you can't really escape from there.
Yeah, so you are kind of out in that woodland location, and then obviously respecting those budgets as well. Did you? I hope you didn't find those eerie wood carvings in the woods as well. Did you have to get those made?
No, 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 no. That would have been interesting actually, but no, we our production designer carved them out himself. Yeah, he was a madman as well because he was living in that location pretty much because we had to fix it first and then trash it again. So we would come to visit to do like tech recce's and scouts and so on, and we would just find him in the middle of a field with a chainsaw, just cutting a huge piece of wood. That was like, scary by itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was his creation. I mean, we worked on the design quite a lot, but overall it was his creation.
yeah, and obviously we'll talk around these. I don't want to provide any spoilers because I would certainly say this is a film that people should be checking out. But I liked very much like the really nice traditional slasher elements of the I think the easiest pop culture reference, if you look at like a Friday the 13th, your transgressions, you do something which is, morally questionable or morally wrong, which brings the vengeance of this killer upon you.
Mhm.
How did you have fun with the characters and putting up like what was going to put them in danger in the first place? Was that a nice piece of character work for you? What other inspirations did you pull in from?
No, absolutely. I think that was the when we were writing, that was the part that brought us most happiness, really.
Mhm.
But in general, I think what we really tried to focus, obviously, the inspiration is the classic slasher film, but also what we really try to focus is the character work, and this is where we put in the most attention, I think, and in general, this is what I'm most interested in. And the characters, they actually, they come from our lives, really, from the people we knew in school, me and the co-writer. I mean, for we have a guy who's a character, basketball player, and so we have to know that basketball is a huge thing in Lithuania. Like
Mhm.
that's it's almost we call it the second religion because
It's
it's
the most
everywhere.
popular sport, is it right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so both of us had like a classmate in reality who was in like a youth teams, and I think everyone had a classmate who was like a good basketball player. And the thing is, they were in school, they were forgiven while we all had to study. They didn't because the teachers would say, "Oh, but he's a basketball player, so he can skip school, he can do whatever." And they were just allowed to be stars, in the school. So there was that, and we're like, yeah, we need to have this guy. we need to have this guy. And my co-writer was actually classmates with one of the most famous Lithuanian players at the moment, so that was also interesting. But the others as well, the others as well come from the people that we knew, and we try to use them as an inspiration to create sort of diverse class altogether.
Yeah. I really like the dynamics, and you're right. Everyone knows some of these archetypes of the characters that we see. Look at I would say your lead as well. Look at Marius as a lead character. I'm afraid to everyone listening at home, if you don't know a Marius, then I'm afraid it's you. That's um, again, we'll talk around it, but I have to applaud some of the character work. I mean, it's a film that has, the violence of the killer, the screaming, the running, some great like slasher action in there, but um, out of context for anyone who hasn't seen the film yet. But I think some of the most brutal elements of the film are in some of the wordplay, as I would like to call it, the get out of the boat moment.
Oh yeah, that's that's one of our favorite scenes altogether. But but as you mentioned, and it was very much our idea, to sort of pit these slasher moments against the things that characters do to each other, so to say. And there is a really a moral question. What's worse in this situation? And this is very much the idea that we really wanted to show and to talk about. And yeah, the boat scene. I mean, I think from the start it was one of our favorites altogether, and it's obviously a very important scene in the film as well. And yeah, we paid a lot of attention to that particular scene.
Yeah, I think it may be my favorite. It comes into such a moment of quiet, actually, when you're away from the screaming and the murder and everything like this, and then to be some of the hardest hits in the film, just in this little quiet moment here. Yeah, I think that is probably the scene that's going to stick with me when I'm thinking of this film in the years to come. If someone says, "Oh, that film Pensive," it will be this scene that springs. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously, you say it's been a couple of things. I know you weren't able to travel over to Glasgow this time, but with the previous screenings, have you had an opportunity to be in the room when an audience is watching it?
Yeah, yeah. So we had the premiere in Black Nights. I was there, and then we did a Lithuanian theatrical run, which was by far the scariest.
Yeah. So these
Yeah,
people
it
might
was.
know where might
Yeah,
recognize me in the
exactly.
street.
Because that's the people like in a foreign country, you just can, yeah, I don't know, pretend that it's not you, something like that. But there, your mom is sitting there, and your dad, and your friends, and the film community as well. So I think Lithuania was by far the most stressful. And then we did Torino Film Festival as well, which is interesting because like film is being perceived obviously different to anywhere we go, because like in Glasgow, obviously in FrightFest, it's a genre crowd, so like most people do understand the ins and outs of the slasher and the genre, and perhaps what we try to do, and where we try to change it a little bit. While as if it's in like a bigger festival as Torino or Tallinn, people would just take it as a straight horror film,
Yeah.
because they obviously don't know the whole tradition, so it has to work all the ways, and it's interesting to see the different interpretations as well.
Yeah, really seeing the output you get from a horror audience who I don't know, from a slasher, maybe hardier, maybe they understand the tropes. You'll see those knowing nods versus the surprise you might get from a general audience, or the reactions that gets very different. Who do you think has responded? Which reactions do you like seeing the best in real life? Do you love the horror audiences? Is it the general audiences that you think you can shock a little more?
No, actually, to be fair, this week has been really amazing with the reception from the Fright Fest, really, because there have been a lot of reviews, a lot of interviews as well, and I think it's great because, again, as I said, like film should be read by different audiences, but I feel like from what I've read from Glasgow, and from the reviews, and from the that we've got, that a lot of people understood it
Mhm.
the way we try to build it, so it's really a great validation moment, because I think for a filmmaker, really validation is our currency. This is how we get paid, like, so it's great to receive, and we've been like over the moon this week about Glasgow and Fright Fest, because it feels like it really found its crowd. It's been, I mean, it's been good in other places as well, but it's good to feel really understood.
Yeah,
So I think that happened.
that's great. And then obviously, much as the tragedy, we can't. Not everyone makes it to these film festivals. So, are there plans for the future? Is it going to become available in physical or digital formats for people to watch at home?
So we do have UK distribution. I don't know where it's gonna be released. It's probably gonna be a VOD. In US, we're gonna be on Springbox. So I again don't know the release date yet, but so it will be on VOD platforms and in TV probably. We have a theatrical release in South America as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be around. It's gonna be around for sure. We still have a few festivals to go to as well. We have invitations to a few festivals, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, and then it will be available.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know UK distributors. It could be any of them. We have less streaming services, variety than we see in the US, but Shudder picks up an awful lot, and then Amazon picks up an awful lot as well. So streaming services that hopefully a lot of our listeners will have. So yeah, we can look out for it when it comes available there. Um, I guess the next thing, whether you chose it or not, Jonas, you are now certainly, in my opinion, the UK's ambassador of Lithuanian cinema. A question from my co-host Ben actually says, "Where do you see the future of Lithuanian horror heading? Are there any other filmmakers that are leading the way that you work with that you're inspired by?"
So I think you have to as well understand that we in Lithuania, like the genre tradition is quite young, so to say, because when we have been occupied by Soviet Union, there was no genre tradition there. There was no horror, well, there was sci-fi. So it's only like sort of trying to rise at the moment. And but we do have a lot, like the Lithuanian cinema is booming. Like my colleague Maria, best director in Sundance with her film Slow. And then Laurynas Bareisha, another colleague, last year won Venice Horizonte program, best film as well, with the film Pilgrim. So, we're sort of all over the place. But in terms of, horror films, well, I probably am the one of the few who's really doing that. I don't know of any other horror films that are being planned. Except for my future project. But we do have Christina Bojita. She made a film called Vesper and Vanishing Waves. Vesper is it's a big and great film. It's available. It's a science fiction film as well, so it's available all around the world. It's a stunning film, really. So yeah, we do have some, but then again, you have to sort of pay in mind that probably I don't know, Lithuania releases like 20 feature films a year, so it's not not that many, not that many. Yeah.
Well, in that case, bear in mind this is a booming industry in Lithuania right now, and it's picking up in the horror genre space. Um, I won't get you to say it, Jonas, but I will say I shall look forward in 20, 30 years time when I'm sitting in my old man's chair saying, "Oh yeah, I met and interviewed the person we're now calling the godfather of Lithuanian horror cinema at the time."
I would love to. I mean, maybe it's vanity, but I would love to have a title. It would be great.
I've said it out loud first now, so that's it.
Yeah.
I shall look forward to those days and more things coming along. Another couple of questions from Ben here. He says, "Could Pensive, in your mind, become a horror franchise with over-the-top sequels, complicated lore, a killer that just won't die?" I mean, I'm going to throw in an extra one, an inevitable trip to space.
That's what you expect, right, from the slasher. You expect that it's gonna be a sequel there, but I mean, in my head, the story is finite. Like I see no coming back except maybe like I don't know Marius's life after 20, 20 years, something like that. But it would have to be not. It would have to be a drama film, not a horror film to be fair. But yeah, no, I mean, it's fun to play around that. We when we were writing it, we're sort of joking that next part should happen in winter, because this is summer and then we have winter with saunas and everything. And
Yes.
but it was more of a running joke, not a really not yeah. As I said, I think the story is finite. Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, a finite story nevertheless. But I think one thing as well, you have a slasher, you have a slasher killer that's out there, a wood carving master of destruction here. In a world where you were to build into another classic horror trope, the versus movie, um, who would you like to see your killer face in a battle of the slashers? Who do you think would be a good match with?
ah, probably Jason. I mean, it
Yeah,
has to be Jason. Yeah. Probably Jason. I mean, obviously we based it a little bit, on Jason as well as the way he looks, and but it would be interesting to see our killer against Jason. I would
yeah.
I would love that. I mean,
I mean, technically, if you think about it, maybe it's a Godzilla Kong situation where they fight for a bit, and then I would say between the child like elements of Jason and the parental figures of your killer that you get,
yeah.
maybe they would make quite an effective team.
No, yeah, I think Jason could at the end of it because Akila is sort of looking to replace his family. Really, this is what he's doing. So Jason could become his son. I mean, his adopted son. That would be great.
I mean, it's all about the family you find along the way. What a heartwarming story.
Yeah, yeah, and they could live in the cabin in Lithuania. I mean, the great final sequence for both of them.
They finally find peace.
Yeah,
A horror movie with a wonderful happy ending. Oh, we should look forward to it. Let's go with. I have a couple of quick fire questions for you.
let's do that.
The first one, a hot topic. I said I wasn't going to ask you anything controversial, but here we go. Physical media or digital?
I have to say physical. I have to say there is nothing like cinema. Like there's a magic in cinema, one way or another.
Yeah. Okay. So, midnight screening or matinee performance?
Midnight,
Yeah.
for sure, because you leave if you leave the cinema and it's dark and it's there is no one around the streets, you struggle to get a taxi. It just adds up to the
Yeah.
experience.
I guess it depends how scary the film if you've seen. If you've seen something really scary, you want to go
Yeah,
have
no, but I mean, yeah, then it's late and you have to go home and you're tired and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Movie snacks. Are you a sweets or a savories guy?
I actually don't do snacks in films. I don't. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, no, I have this thing where I don't know. It's almost like a PTSD where I want to, if I'm in cinema, I want to watch the film and not to be distracted by anything else. If I'm at home, watching something on a VOD, probably I would go for a savory snack.
yeah. Are we talk? I
Yeah.
mean, this will be another exploration of Lithuanian culture for us. Like for me, a savory cinema food, pizza every time. What are you reaching for at home?
Pizza in the film theater. You can, yeah, like,
No,
do you do that?
in some theaters, yeah, but at home, definitely. Pizza in a movie at home, yeah, but there are some cinemas now, I know, where you can get yourself a pizza.
No, but that's almost again. I do like I don't know. Like maybe this is sounds like I do think that the cinema is for me. It's almost like a sacred place. It's a temple, so to say. And you don't bring pizza to a temple. That's that's what I think. But at home, we would probably like me and my wife would probably play something like nachos for a
Ah,
film.
yes, a classic. Okay, so What's your we talked about horror movies and all the different choices. If you were to have a horror hangout of your own, you're getting your friends round for a movie night. What are you putting on? What's your crowd pleasing movie you're going to put on for a mixed audience?
Oh, like I'm pretty bad. Like this is the thing. Like when we have like movie nights and I get to select the films, like people are not impressed at all, because I think my idea of a crowd pleasing film, it would be like Audition by Takashi Miike.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen it, but like
oh, I have.
yeah, it's just something like that for me is a great crowd pleasing film.
I mean,
Um,
that's a good choice as well, I guess, for a mixed audience, because I think until about the halfway point, you could trick a lot of people in saying, "Oh, you've got like a romantic drama that we're having
yeah,
here," and then that
yeah,
one takes a hard turn.
yeah. No, I love Takashi Miike. He's one of my biggest inspirations because it seems that the man can do anything he wants to do, he can do. Western, yakuza film, horror film, whatever, space, anime adaptation. Like he doesn't care that much.
Incredible. And we'll move on to a couple of final questions, very important ones, of course. What are you working on currently or next? What's in the pipeline for you? Where are we gonna see you again soon?
Yeah, so we're actually with the same co-writer with Titas, we're writing another film, another horror film, which is going to be in English this time. Produced in UK as well. It's about Siren living in a water park and
Oh
about
wow. I'm in.
its
Two
son.
tickets, please.
Yeah, so that's the next thing we are trying to do. Yeah, so that's the project that we're currently writing, and we'll see how quickly it takes off. Hopefully quite quickly because yeah, after doing a film, you just sort of, even though it's hard and but you just want more. You just want to do more. So yeah,
Brilliant. I look forward to it. And already, I think as far as elevator pitches and premises go, Siren in a water park, yes, please. I'm in.
yeah.
um, and then I guess where can our listeners find out more about you? Where can they keep track of what you're working on? Where's the best platforms to follow along with you?
So obviously all the social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. You can check some of my work on my website. Yes, that's it basically.
Brilliant.
That's the outlay. Yeah.
Future Ben doing the editing of this, if we can grab those and put those in the show notes, that would be incredible. Then people can scroll down and find those and follow you along. Um, Thank you very much for joining us, Jonas. For everyone listening, thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks for Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating and review. Head over to the Facebook group on the Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. You can chat to us all there. We're also all over all your social media platforms at Horror Hangout Podcast. Give that a search, you'll find us. Thanks for listening. Thanks again, Jonas,
Thank you.
and everybody. Go and check out Pensive whenever it's available in your territory. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.